Hi everyone, Minglava. Welcome back to our weekly news program. This is MMTV. This week we have yet another plans to present Myanmar domestic situations, starting with the situation of interest between the international countries and the difficulties that are being faced in Myanmar. This is Nui Umao. As always, we will start presenting the Myanmar's affairs that happened during the week. As a summary, we have Myanmar and Thailand discussed to eliminate the illegal arms trade. Ambassador U Morton said at a meeting of the United Nations Economic and Social Council that all sectors, including education and employment, after the military dictatorship in Myanmar have deteriorated. ASEAN's non-interference policy needs to be changed in order to help Myanmar. Former Secretary General of the United Nations and Vice President of the Elders, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, urged to stop the violence immediately. Japan rejected all the donated ships being used by the military council for war purposes. Those fleeing the war in Saline Township are in need of health care. NUG said that the military junta is increasing their target on hospitals and clinics. Over 100 houses were burned down in 1 week due to a military airstrike near Basiji village, and thousands of local people are on the run. Over 2 years, more than 750 residential properties were shut down by the military junta. And of the final one, we have the NUG Ministry of Defense said that it had carried out more than 40 combat battles in the past 4 months, and my name is Nui Umao. Firstly, we have Myanmar and Thailand discussed to eliminate the illegal arms trade. The military announced that the chairman of the Military Council and Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, Foreign Minister Mr. Don Pramudinway, met and had a discussion to eliminate human trafficking and drug trade, including the illegal arms trade in Naypyidaw on April 21st. The Military Council statement did not provide details on how to eliminate drugs, human trafficking, and illegal weapons that was discussed during the meeting. In a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, General Ye Win-u, Foreign Minister U Tan Shui, and International Cooperation Minister U Go Lai were also present. Military analysts also say that the Military Council seems to think that the weapons and ammunition used in the armed resistance against the Military Council are entering the country through the Thai-Myanmar border. Up next, we have Ambassador U Morton said at a meeting of the United Nations Economic and Social Council that all sectors, including education and employment, after the military dictatorship in Myanmar have deteriorated. In the General Affairs speech program of 2023 Development and Forum on Financing by United Nations Economic and Social Council, Ambassador U Morton, permanent representative of Myanmar to the United Nations, said that the number of displaced people and the number of unemployed have increased since the military dictatorship in Myanmar. The destruction of the education sector has reduced the human resources, and unfortunately, it was reported that there is a downward spiral in all sectors. Inhuman atrocities have been committed against the people after the military has seized the power. More than 3,422 people were brutally killed. 1.4 million people are displaced. There are about 18 million people in need of humanitarian assistance, and about half of the country's population is facing poverty. The increase in the number of displaced people and the number of unemployed and the distractions of the education sector has reduced human resources. Unfortunately, there is a downward spiral in every sector. Moving on to the next news, we have ASEAN's non-interference policy needs to be changed in order to help Myanmar. Myanmar News reported that analysts said that to solve Myanmar problem, it must start from within the country itself. Myanmar's coup military council has been widely condemned by the international countries, and sanctions have been imposed on them by the United States and the European Union, but still, the military continues to target the groups which condemn them as insurgents. Around 170 people, including women and children, were killed in the recent military junta airstrike in Basiji village, Kambalu Township in Sagai Division. Amid international pressure on the military council, Professor Dr. Asmi Hassan, a geostrategist, said that the solution to Myanmar problems will start within the country through the National Unity Government (NUG), and imposing sanctions on Myanmar would only have a temporary effect on the country's military council. He also pointed out that the military council has many financial channels, such as a sale of gems to foreign countries. and foreign countries have no problem selling jet fuels and other natural resources back to the military council. ASEAN Regional Department Director Dr. Rahul Mishra, University of Malaysia, also agreed that sanctions are not beneficial in the long run. In order to help restore democracy in Myanmar, the ASEAN must transition from a policy of non-intervention to a positive intervention based on humanitarian aid. For this, the international community, especially the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, and ASEAN countries need to participate in the discussion. ASEAN Regional Director Dr. Rahul Mishra said that although ASEAN has strongly condemned the recent air attack by the Burmese army on its own people in Basiju village, the intervention is still not enough. Due to the lack of legal provisions in ASEAN, it is difficult to implement the 5-point agreement. For this reason, ASEAN and its member countries should develop a more regular and collective approach based on closer ties. Otherwise, Myanmar will not be able to return to a normal state, he said. The 5-point ASEAN consensus implementations was agreed by ASEAN leaders in Jakarta, Indonesia, in April of 2021. The implementation includes ending the violence and having a positive discussion among all the countries and as ASEAN to appoint a special representative for ASEAN for Myanmar for discussions, and lastly, it includes factors such as allowing the special representative to visit Myanmar. Meanwhile, geostrategist Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan said that ASEAN influence on the Myanmar Military Council was too limited, and only 1 or 2 of the 5-point ASEAN agreements were implemented. If Myanmar is removed from ASEAN, it will be a bold move, but it is likely that there will be bigger problems within the group regarding Myanmar. As for whether the United Nations should send peace representative to Myanmar, Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan, a geostrategist, and Dr. Rahul Mishra, director of the ASEAN Regional Department, said that they should. Both experts said that Myanmar needs help to return to the path of peace, but there is still difficulty for such a situation to arise again. In order for this to happen, we need the approval of the military council, and only if the military council ever favors the peace forces. Even ASEAN researchers were not allowed to enter the country. Professor Dr. Azmi pointed out that such a case is far-fetched. Director of the ASEAN Regional Department, Dr. Rahul Mishra, said that the peacekeeper from the United Nations can enter. But the bigger concern is that China and Russia won't accept this and will shut down the whole program. For the next news, we have Deputy Chair of the Elders and the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, urged to stop the violence immediately. The Elders Group announced today that Mr. Ban Ki-moon strongly urged the importance of discussing with all groups, including the National Unity Government, for a long-term solution for the Myanmar issue. Deputy Chair of the Elders and the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who suddenly visited Myanmar, called on the Myanmar Military Council to immediately stop the violence and implement the 5 ASEAN Common Agreements. Ban Ki-moon said that he came to Myanmar to urge an immediate end to the violence and to start a constructive dialogue involving all relevant parties in Myanmar. Our trip is to find out how I can help the people of Myanmar. Ban Ki-moon also said that I came to Myanmar to help the Myanmar citizens who deserve freedom as much as possible and a peaceful future ahead. Our meetings are in exploratory positions. We will do our best to help the Myanmar citizens to achieve peace, prosperity, and freedom, Ban Ki-moon promised. Mr. Ban Ki-moon urged to immediately release all political prisoners who have been asked by the international community to hold constructive meetings and to refrain from violence. In addition, Ban Ki-moon also pointed out that the military junta also had an airstrike in Gambalu Township that had been strongly condemned by the international community, which recently killed more than 160 people, including children and women in Sagai Division. The election should only be held when it's free and fair, and holding the election in this current situation will lead to more violence and divisions, and the result will be against the people of Myanmar. He also added that ASEAN and the wider international community will not be recognizing it. The elders immediately issued a statement while the National Unity Government (NUG) and analysts in Myanmar pointed out and criticized the visit, while the coup army was carrying out airstrikes and terrorist killings across the country. Mr. Ban Ki-moon met with the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Military Council. Mr. Ban Ki-moon requested to visit in 2021 after the military coup, but at the time, the Supreme Council rejected him, and now it is said that he was invited to meet. Coming up next, Japan rejected all the donated ships being used by the Military Council for war purposes. NHK reported that Japan's Foreign Ministry has formally disagreed with the military misuse of vessels for war purposes donated by Japan initially for the use in civilian transportation. Japan Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it can confirm that the Myanmar military is improperly using the vessel provided under Japan's support measures. The Japanese government donated 3 coastal fast vessels between 2017 and 2019 during the last NLD government with the aim of making a maritime transportation sector of Myanmar more convenient and smooth. The Japanese foreign minister said that after the military dictatorship, the military junta, which has repeated battles with Rakhine Army AA, used these vessels for military purposes to transport weapons and soldiers. Therefore, Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs notified the Myanmar military junta and requested them to prevent a similar situation from occurring again, according to NHK news station. Earlier this month, the military junta attacked a village in Nyai Township, Magui Divisions, and burned down a hospital donated by Japan. Moving on, we have those fleeing the war in Saline Township are in need of healthcare. Providing healthcare is crucial for more than 370 people who fled the night war in Kinpongchan village, Minbu district in Magui province. All of the war refugees almost have diarrhea due to the change of water, and the elderly also have chronic diseases. It is known that the children are sick due to the heat and also have dengue fever. Since there are no doctors in these war camps, those who have attended the medical specialist training are helping, and if there is an emergency, they go to nearby villages for treatment. They also need medicine to be used for sickness and diarrhea and also salt because of the hot weather. There is also a need for medications for the elderly who are suffering from chronic diseases. Among the 1.8 million people who have fled their homes due to the battle in Myanmar since March 27 this year, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, announced that 1.4 million have fled their homes in 2021 after the military coup on February 1st. More than 17.6 million people, that of the country populations, are in need of humanitarian assistance, and 4.5 million people are in a serious need of aid in conflict-riddled rural areas. In other news, we have the National Unity Government announced that the Military Council has targeted more hospitals and clinics. The National Unity Government NUG said that since the beginning of this year, the military junta has been carrying out more targeted attacks on hospitals and clinics and has also been carrying out aerial attacks. During the first 18 days of April, the Military Council reported that targeted hospitals and clinics in Kachin State, Sagaing Division, Magui Divisions, and Karen Divisions were attacked by air, resulting in the destruction of hospital and clinic buildings and the death of 3 people, including a child. The National Unity Government NUG said that this month the military junta has burned and destroyed the Sinda District Hospital and School in Sinda Village in Shuegu Township of Kachin State, the Nyangbinda District Hospital in Tichai Township, and the public hospital in Michigan Village in Nyai Township, and also bombed the rescue medical team that was providing emergency medical treatment in a Shenkaya special battlefield 5 times without any battle. According to NUG data, the military junta killed 70 health workers and arrested 836 in the 2 years since the coup dictatorships until the end of February this year. In addition, it is said that 59 ambulances were attacked and destroyed, and another 49 were stolen and captured as well. This targeted attack on the health sector is strongly criticized as this is violating against the Geneva Convention, UN Security Council resolutions, and domestic and foreign laws. NUG also urged that the international community also needs to stop this attack as soon as possible. Over 100 houses were burned down in 1 week due to a military attack near Basiji village, and thousands of local people are still on the run. In Sagaing Division, Gamblu District, east side, villages near Basiji village, the joint column of 361st Army and 88 divisions, consisting of 200 members of the military armies, entered the column on April 22nd. And within the week, it is reported that more than 100 houses were burned down in the villages of Lei Dunsin, Changda, and Yimon. From April 22nd to April 26, 68 houses, including a clinic, were destroyed in Laythunsin village due to the fire attack. A total of 125 houses were destroyed, 53 houses in the village of Changda and 4 houses in the village of Myanmar. It is also known that the village of Myanmar was burned for the second time and nearly 300 houses were destroyed in the fire. The people of these villages have to leave the area and flee. About 10 villages have been burnt, and it is also reported that some villages were also injured due to the heavy shooting with various weapons. It is also known that Basiji is constantly being surrounded by military troops, so that the people who are avoiding it are facing difficulty in their everyday life. At present, as the military council army continues to march and clashes with the People's Defense Forces continue, thousands of people from at least 10 villages, including the villages in front of Kambulu, such as the villages of Basiji, Basile, Changyua, Changshe, Myanmar, Dayamon, Tiritmon, and Sajin are said to be fleeing to safety. On April 11, the military council troops bombed the opening ceremony of the People Defense Force district office in Basiji village, east of Kambulu, killing 168 civilians, including children. Coming up next, we have the military junta has shut down more than 750 residential properties in more than 2 years. The Association for the Assistance of Political Prisoners AAPP announced on April 25th that the military council had sealed the access of more than 630 democracy activists and civilians during the military dictatorship from February of 2021 to March 31st, 2023. Over the 2 years, the military council has already seized 751 large-scale properties, including homes and buildings. At least 300 of those whose assets were confiscated were members of parliament and NLD party members. According to AAPB, 47% of the 300 were those who support the NLD. The National League for Democracy announced on January 29 that the military junta had seized the properties of 605 people, including the homes of 371 party members, including 206 members of parliament. According to AAPB statistics, the military junta has shut down 159 times in Sagaing, followed by 124 times in Rangoon and 91 times in Mandalay. It is also reported that vehicles, precious jewels, computers, farm animals, etc. are also included. As for the final news, we have the NUG Ministry of Defense said that more than 40 camp battles were carried out within 4 months. The Ministry of Defense of the National Unity Government (NUG) announced on April 27 that in the nearly 4 months from the beginning of this year to the present, the combined forces, including the PDF, had been able to carry out up to 44 capture battles. It was also reported that 6 attacks were carried out on military council air bases, 9 attacks on weapon factories, and 11 attacks on headquarters. The Defense Department of the National Unity Government, which has stated that 2023 is the decisive year of the Spring Revolution, also said that this is a real battle called the proper planning and preparation. It is also reported that the revolution is moving at a fast pace and the people are still resisting the brutality of the military dictatorship as well. During the first 4 months of this year, there has been a series of attacks on military council air bases, weapons factories, and headquarters in Rangoon. However, the military council side of the damage during these attacks is still unknown. According to reports on the ground, there were significant battles and attacks by the military council in Karen State, Karenni, Kayah State, and Chin State. In addition, there were similar situations in Sagaing and Magway regions. On the other hand, the military junta is continuously raiding and burning areas bordering Sagaing, Magway, and Mandalay regions, and revolutionary forces are still being captured and killed in the meantime. At the moment, the warring factions are in battle in the areas of Salinji, Shuaibo, Kenu, Wellek, and Kambulu. To conclude, everyone, this is a recap of the news that we gathered during the week, and every day Myanmar is still trying to achieve democracy and human rights in many various ways. Therefore, as people all over the world, as well as each country in the world who's listening to this or watching this, we would like to urge everyone to help restore democracy and basic human rights in relation to Myanmar issue. This is MMTV Weekly News. I'm Nui Uma.